And in the Impact segment tonight, as predicted, the folks in the Crimea have voted to leave Ukraine and join Russia. Everybody knew that would happen once Russian troops occupied the peninsula. Here's how President Obama reacted this morning.
We are imposing sanctions on specific individuals responsible for undermining the sovereignty, territorial integrity, and government of Ukraine. We're making it clear that there are consequences for their actions.
Okay, joining us from Washington, Fox News strategic analyst, Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters. So, I got the list of the guys. I can't pronounce most of their names. Vladislav Surkov, Sergei Glaziev, Leonid Slutsky. I mean, okay, fine. So, if these guys have any money in American banks, it's frozen. They can't come here. So what? I mean, why does Putin care? He doesn't care. Anybody losing any money, Putin will just make it up to him, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, telling a couple dozen Russians and rogue Ukrainians that they can't vacation in Vegas this year is not going to get Putin out of Crimea. Bill, we're just, it's appalling to me that these tepid measures introduced by the president today, with more to follow, admittedly, from the European Union, they're so timid that they only encourage Vladimir Putin.
Well, isn't there something to be said, though, for gathering a consensus, and that takes a long time to deal with these pinheads over in Europe. You have to kind of gather them all together and explain it 87 times and then have lunch and coffee and cigarettes, and it takes a while to get all these people mobilized, but once you do, so I'm assuming that this is what Kerry and Obama are trying to do, then it's more powerful. And you say, okay, now we're going to slap all banking is off limits to the Russians. We're going to ruin the currency. The ruble is what I suggest they do. So maybe that's what they're doing behind the scenes, is trying to get them all together and then drop the hammer on Putin.
Look, Bill, consensus is a great idea. Sometimes you have to lead, and this is one of those times. And I'll tell you, there are three things that President Obama can do and should do. One, stop pretending that negotiations will solve all the world's problems. I mean, Vladimir Putin is playing Game of Thrones, and we're playing Downton Abbey. The second thing, Obama needs to renounce and abrogate the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty that he gave to Vladimir Putin. It was a gift to Russia. That would get Putin's attention, because Putin's military is really hollow, and they have real financial problems. The third thing, and we could do this unilaterally if we had to. I want Europe on board, but they're timid. They're afraid of losing money. Broad, deep sanctions that really bite, because Putin's long-term, I stress long-term, Achilles heel is that he does not understand economics.
No, they can hurt the economy and the currency.
Crimea.
Sure, but you got to convince them, as I said, and it's not easy to do that. Now, if the United States says we're going to put missiles back into Poland and other countries on the eastern borders of Russia, what Putin will do is take over the eastern part of Ukraine. It's what he's going to do. That's why he's got the troops there. So I don't believe that Putin's going to invade. I think Putin would only do that if we do something like put the missiles back. Did you factor in that equation? So it's all unintended consequences. So if Obama says we're putting the missiles back, bang, eastern Ukraine is gone. And you know that they're not going to use military action against Putin. That's not going to happen. So Putin is just doing it, saying, anything you do to us, we're going to take more territory and more territory and more territory. So they're afraid.
Well, yeah, they're very afraid, but fear is not a wise strategy. It's not an effective strategy. And Bill, I think you're wrong about something. It's not that Putin's going to move into eastern Ukraine or other parts of Ukraine if we do X, Y, or Z. He is going to go for eastern Ukraine and southeastern Ukraine anyway. The question is, how
do you know that, though, Colonel?
Forces?
How do you know that? Because his ambassador in London said flat out they weren't going to do it. And I look at it as if I'm Putin, I'm putting my guys there saying, if you do anything to us, then we'll move. But right now, we'll keep them there. That's what I think is in play here.
Bill, you're wrong.
Okay, I mean, I've been wrong a lot, but you got to tell me how you're so thoroughly convinced.
Well, because, man, I know the Russians, and I understand Putin, unlike most of the people in this administration. First of all, he believes that Ukraine is an integral part of Russia. Two, he wants eastern Ukraine, so he has a firm land bridge to Crimea. Three, he wants vengeance on Ukraine. He is as vindictive as he is ruthless and brilliant. And so the only question to me is, how will we do it? Will he use military force? Will he do it sooner rather than later? Will he just use subversion and wait for provocations? I can't can't tell you how and when he's going to do it. But, Bill, I can tell you with 100% certainty, bet my life with the ghost of Jimmy the Greek, Putin is not satisfied. He will take at least eastern and southeastern Ukraine when he's ready.
No.